Amersham Museum was opened in 1991 in a beautiful 15th century hall house and adjoining Victorian cottage in the centre of Old Amersham in Buckinghamshire, and we tell local stories about residents here across the centuries. We display Amersham's past through a timeline exhibition alongside a temporary exhibition gallery where we change those exhibitions across the year. We've been thinking about our green credentials, our environmental sustainability for quite a long time with exhibitions and events and strategies, but applying for the Museum Development South East Going Green grant really gave us an impetus to focus again, to make it much more in the foreground of what we were aiming to achieve across all of our operations. We used the grant to commission a local heritage buildings consultant to look at what measures we might be able to take to improve the thermal efficiency across the whole of our museum buildings, so that we were able to understand what we might need to do as our next steps. The great thing about the report is it will enable us to go into more detail in future reports and hopefully to lever funding to enable us to make much more expensive and larger changes in the future. Wild Amersham is a local volunteer group that focuses on nature and wildlife in the town, and they ran our programme of events across last summer based in our garden, including plant drawing workshops for adults and teenagers and urban sketching to look at the relationship between the town and the wildlife.
So we did 2 workshops last summer at Amersham Museum. One was with a professional botanist helping people to really look at plants and understand them, and the second workshop was nature journaling, focusing on plants and drawing them. Biodiversity loss is urgent. The landscape in Amersham used to be very rich with all sorts of species, most of which have gone. People are very unaware of that, so I'm hoping this partnership between museum and nature group are going to make people more aware of what was there and how we can restore it.
The idea behind the green gatherings were that getting together to discuss these issues with people beyond our silo would be really helpful in terms of sort of multiplying the effect and empowering us all to feel confident about taking these different steps. And so we worked together with Bucks Culture to meet with other cultural and heritage organisations and also local charities to have themed discussions on the sort of things that were on our minds and to get expert input onto how we might take the additional steps to help us move forward.
Going Green gatherings have been really helpful in bringing everyone together to share their learning experiences. Things like using carbon calculators, for example, and developing your sustainability strategies. We've been able to look at each other's work and how to apply that in our own settings. We worked with experts from across the sector, looking at the carbon footprint of buildings, handling collections, digital practice, and the impact of AI.
I found meeting together as the green gatherings has been really helpful because you don't feel as if you're in it alone. Other people can give a fresh perspective on perhaps some of the issues that you're struggling with, but also signpost you to areas that they've been working in successfully that perhaps you haven't even thought of. And we're aiming to keep the networking going so that we can help each other as we develop. As with all museums, we're grappling with issues surrounding the environment and also our energy use. And of course, we're sat in a historical building, so there's plenty of challenges to consider. And we're always looking at what the next thing might be to improve our costs, to modernise, and to also communicate all of that to our visitors as part of our role. So for all these reasons, when the opportunity came up to apply to Museum Development South East for a Going Green grant, it seemed like a really obvious opportunity to jump at. We've worked with Museum Development South East over many years with past grants from them, and in this case I actually attended one of their online sort of surgery sessions to get my head in gear to apply for the grant, and that's gave me a really good impetus to how we might approach our application. And then I got support from the Museum Development Officer before I put the grant application in, and then have kept in touch with them through the whole project. I think it's really important that museums get involved. It's such a massive global issue, and although we're only a really local museum and one tiny bit of a jigsaw, if we all get involved, if we all communicate, if we all work out what we can do in our patch, if you join it together, then obviously the impact's much, much bigger, and we're in this really great position to be able to communicate some of those messages to all of our visitors.